right before the Berlin Conference and the formal partitioning of Africa that took place in the years 1885 and 1886. The colonial reach to Africa had already begun since the moment the British House of Commons took that giant step to formally abolish the transatlantic slave trade in the year 1807. Several European polities were scrambling for a piece of the giant and sumptuous pie that was Africa. These vying polities so resolved to come to a table of discussion at Berlin in the year 1885, which was likely spearheaded by another colonial thug in Leopold of Belgium. After Africa had been formally partitioned without the presence of any African amongst several European polities, each of these polities sought to pursue their colonial ambition as ruthlessly as they could. For the sake of this discourse, we have chosen to limit the scope of the atrocities by these European polities to the ones that took place after the Berlin lines had been drawn across Africa. For the British Empire, she spread her colonial tentacles across all regions of Africa, from North Africa to East Africa to West Africa and to Southern Africa, where her colonial policies took different shapes to suit the regions where these colonial activities were being perpetrated. In Northern Africa, nobody from that era represented or embodied the evils of British colonialism, like the Field Marshal Kitchener, who in his campaign at Omdurman against the Mahdist of Sudan committed several acts of evil that are too inhumane to be mentioned or to be measured. We cannot forget the likes of Francis Scott and Garnet Worsley against the Asante Empire in West Africa. Neither can we forget the likes of Cecil Rhodes and Jan Smuts in Southern Africa. We cannot forget the likes of Evelyn Baring in East Africa, who served as the face of colonialism in the Imperial British East African Company. We cannot leave behind the French, who made a great argument for themselves as great perpetrators of evil, as their colonial activities also spread from North Africa likely to West Africa and Central Africa, and the fraction of their colonial activities was experienced in some part of Southern Africa as well. Nowhere in North Africa was their colonial debauchery put into practice like in Algeria, where several acts of inhumanity and evil were committed against both humans and animals and everything sacred and holy, and no one in North Africa served as the face of this evil like Colonel Bugod in Algeria. And in Morocco, there was Xavier Kopolani, who met with a fatal end. And in West Africa, particularly in the Senegambia, no one embodied French colonialism and its evil like Louis Waidebe. And in the Western Sudan, that is from what is today's Mali to Guinea to some part of the Central Sudan, like in Niger, we had several names, amongst whom the name of Colonel Gourud became a very prominent one. The Germans also made a great name for themselves in the colonial business, from Togo to Southwest Africa to Tanganyika, but nowhere was their colonial vices put into practice like in Namibia, that is Southwest Africa, against the native Herero Namakwa, where several inhumane acts were committed, and no one from that era represented the evil face of German colonialism like Lothar von Trotha. The Italians also played their part in this great horror movie with their colonial activities in the Horn of Africa and in Libya, and no one from that era represented the evils of Italian colonialism like Colonel Graziani in his campaigns against the Senussi Brotherhood in Libya. And for a tiny inconsequential state like Belgium, it also partook greatly in this great horror of colonialism, as Belgium got to possess one of the richest and largest mass of land on the continent of Africa. The entire Congo became a possession of one man, and he was aided in this venture by the notoriously wild Welsh explorer in Henry Morton Stanley. In the Belgian Congo, Leopold committed several acts of inhumanity that makes the actions of Adolf Hitler seem very benign and angelic.